Warm welcome to the course of Digital System Design. In this lecture, we will look at the technique behind state table reduction. First, let us look at why at all we should go in for reduction of a state table. We saw that the number of states in a state table or in a state graph will directly dictate the number of flip-flops that we would require to implement it. In fact, if there are n, we saw that if there are small n number of flip-flops, then it can have 2 power n possible different state representation that can be stored in that state register. So that puts the restriction on the number of states that you can have in the state graph or in the state table. Or in other words, suppose you have got capital N number of states represented in the state graph or in a state table, then the number of flip-flops that you would require to store the states would be, first you take log n capital N to the base 2 and then take ceiling of that. So for example, if there are 8 states, you would require 3 flip-flops, but even if we have 7 states, okay, then you would require 3 flip-flops. That is why we need if n is the number of states, capital N denotes the number of states, log capital N to the base 2 ceiling would be the number of flip-flops that you would require. In addition, the more the number of states, if it is there, even if you tell that, well, as long as it is, because you put a ceiling operator, there are maybe many n's which will map onto the number of flip-flops. Whether it is 6 or 7 or 8, it all corresponds to 3 flip-flops. But even in this case, if you have 6 states, the logic that you would require to realize the machine would be lesser as compared to a case when there are 7 states or 8 states in general. So we would always like to have the minimal number of states being used in a state graph or in the state table. Okay. So a priori you won't know how many states would be required, and therefore find out what is the minimum number of states with which you can design the you can come up with a design for solving a problem. So but we can find out that number by using a systematic procedure. Okay. What we do is, when do you say a state is necessary and when do you say a state is redundant? Okay. If there are 2 states that in broad sense achieves the same purpose, then you don't need both of them, only one is enough. Or in other words, little more formally, if there are 2 states which have the same behavior, then only one state is good enough to exhibit that behavior. So we say that 2 states which have the same behavior, which captures the same behavior of the machine, those states are equivalent. Equivalent in the sense that they behave in the same manner, and therefore only one can be retained. So now we introduce a term called as the equivalent states. What we do is, 2 states are said to be equivalent if they have identical behavior. We need to now characterize the behavior. That is, if 2 states produce the same output for a given input, then obviously from the perspective of the output generation, they are similar, because for a given input, again there may be many possible input combination that may be provided. If there is a single input to the network, the input can be 0 or 1. If there are 2 inputs, it can be 4 different ways of input combinations you can give. So for each of these input combination, if the output produced from that state is the same, then they are equivalent from the perspective of generating the output. If it is a Moore machine, if the outputs are tied to the state, if they produce this exactly the same output, then they are equivalent. In the case of Mealy machine, again the outputs are dependent upon the state as well as the input being given. So you look at the transitions and then say that two states are said to be equivalent, which means the node representing those two states in a graph are equivalent if they both go to the same next state, okay, and producing the having a similar transition. For a given output, given input, they produce the same output, okay, 0 bar 0 or 1 bar 0 and so on. So the label in the transition should be similar. That will tell that for a given input they produce the same output or not. Well, that is on the output side. They produce the same output for a given input, and that has to be true for each possible input condition that you can provide. How about the states? Two states should be considered equivalent if they go to the same next state for a given input, are obviously equivalent because they have the same behavior. So two states are said to be equivalent if for a given input both these states lead to the same next state, and this has to be true for every possible input condition. For example, A and B are two states. If the input 0 is given, both of them go to C, and if input 1 is given, if both of them go to D, then A and B from the next state transition perspective they are equivalent. Well, now here is a little trick, the tricky condition that you have to encounter. If you look for a condition, the two states have to go to the same next state, okay, then they may apparently go to two different states, but those two next states, which by initial labeling are different, may themselves happen to be equivalent state, in which case we have to redefine our definition of equivalent states and make it more general. Therefore, the definition of the equivalent states goes as follows. Two states are said to be equivalent if they produce the same output for a given input and go to the states which are themselves equivalent. So this would be the definition of the equivalent states. You will get more clarity on this definition when we look at some examples. Now, having defined it, our purpose of state table reduction or reduction in a state graph becomes simpler. What you have to do is you have to identify pairs of states which are equivalent and remove, for each pair you can remove one. If you have a group of states, all of them are equivalent to each other, then there can be one and only state that can represent the entire group. All other elements of that group can be eliminated and only one can be retained. So this way you can eliminate states and retain only the minimum number of states that you would require. That is all state table reduction boils down to. So a state table can be reduced by removing equivalent states. Well, the way the equivalent state can be identified and the state table can be reduced can be carried out using a tool called as the implication table. As the name indicates, it is a table giving the condition under which every pair of states in a given state table or a state graph can be equivalent. So it lays out, it takes every possible pair of states and then finds out under what condition they can be equivalent. And then it checks whether the condition can be satisfied or not. In this way, it discovers states which are equivalent. So that technique is called as the implication table. It is a formal technique It can be used to identify all such groups of equivalent states and remove all of them, in the sense that reduce all of them, that is, for each group we will retain only one state, and therefore arrive at the minimal number of states a state graph or a state table to have. Okay, but as a prelude, before getting into the formal technique called the implication table, we will look at a simpler technique called as the row reduction technique. That will serve two purposes. It will motivate you why there is a need for reduction, what is the benefit that you will achieve, and another, why do you say this definition of equivalent states will become more clear when we go through this simpler technique. And then we will discover there can be shortcomings of this simpler technique called as the row reduction, and therefore we need to go for a more formal method called as the implication table. In this lecture we will confine ourselves to the row reduction technique and look at the implication table based method in the next lecture. So to proceed, we will look at a problem and try to arrive at a state graph and a state table for that problem, and in that process find out that if you do it in a straightforward manner, you have to create a number of states which would be redundant, and therefore you can reduce discover equivalent states and reduce it by comparing the rows or matching the rows. Therefore it is called as the row reduction method or row matching method. Okay. So generally, how did we, when we look at derive a state graph, okay, how did you come up with the state graph? So you, every time you encounter a requirement to generate a state, you think and find out whether the new state is really required or not. You find out whether there is already any state which has a similar property, and therefore whether duplication can be avoided. But this needs a good understanding of the problem. For a simpler problem, it is easy to answer the question as whether a new state is required or not. But a complicated case, it will be difficult, and it also requires a lot of thinking, and sometimes it can be error prone. So we will look at a problem and then see that how we can without using any tricks, how you can go about designing a state graph or a state table, and then apply the reduction techniques to reduce the number of states. So the problem we take as an example to illustrate this concept of state reduction is as follows. You have a sequential circuit to be designed. It has one input, you call it as X, one output, call it as Z. What the circuit does, it examines groups of 4 consecutive inputs, that is 4 bits, and looks for a pattern in that group of 4 bits. It produces an output Z equal to 1 if the input bit pattern, group of 4 bits or input sequence, matches with 2 possible patterns. One is 0 1 0 1, another is 1 0 0 1. If either one of these 2 pattern appears in that group of 4 bits, then at the end of that process, that is after getting the 4th bit, you indicate that the pattern has occurred or it has not occurred. Okay. So if you use a melee approach, as at the same time the 4th bit has occurred, you have to indicate the output. If it is a more, after receiving all 4 bits in the next clock period, you have to indicate the output. Let us follow the melee approach. So what the machine should do is that when the fourth bit has come, and if that group of 4 bits matches with any one of these 2 bit patterns, the fourth bit has to be made 1. If this pattern has not occurred, then the fourth bit is 0. How about the first 3 bits? Obviously that we are not even going to look for those 3 bits, because only the fourth bit will indicate the occurrence of pattern or not, but still we have to output something. So let us say we will output zeros in the first 3 bits. So again, another important thing is the circuit resets after every 4 bits, 4 input bit that has been received, which means that the circuit synchronizes itself with the arrival of group of 4 bits. It knows when the first bit of a group is going to come. Then it collects 4 bits, 1 clock period at a time. At the end of the fourth clock period, at the fourth clock period, because it is a melee machine, it outputs a 1 or 0 based on whether the pattern has appeared or not. Then it forgets the pattern that has been received because the job is over. Then again it looks for the next group of 4 bits. So the next clock period it looks for the first bit of the new group and so on. That is what we say, that is what we refer by telling that the circuit resets after collecting the group of 4 inputs. Okay. So essentially we are not looking for these 2 patterns anywhere in the sequence of input. Okay. So we collect group of 4 bit at a time and then look for this pattern. Well, now if you look at these 2 patterns, what is that we would expect? Is it you need to wait for the entire group of 4 bits to come to take a decision whether the pattern has appeared or not? It may not be like that. So in this case, if you look at the first bit, for this pattern the first bit is 0, whereas for the other pattern it is 1. So by just looking at the first bit you can't decide. Both 0 and 1 are allowed because still there is a possibility of this pattern, one of these 2 patterns appearing. Next, if you look at the second bit, the second bit is 1 for this first pattern and 0 for the second pattern. So although the second bit can take a value either 0 or 1, but when you use it along with the first bit, you can tell something about the possibility of these 2 bit patterns. That is, if the first bit is 0, then only if the second bit is 1, then only there is a possibility. Similarly, if the first bit is 1, then and the second bit is 0, then only the possibility comes. So if you look at the first 2 bits, if 0 0 or 1 1 occurs, then immediately you can conclude that we are not going to have the pattern, but a 0 1 or 1 0 is allowed. So it is possible to construct a state graph that which keeps track of looking for the pattern you are interested, and whenever you detect that pattern is not appearing, you go to a state and simply wait for more bits to come. At the end of the fourth bit you declare the pattern has not appeared, but still you have to generate states and wait for 4 bits to come in order to reset. Okay, that is how we could have proceeded if you want to reduce the states right from the beginning. How about the third and fourth bit? The third and fourth bit is identical in these 2 cases, which means that if the first 2 bits is either 0 or 1 0, then you have to take essentially only one path to discover the pattern. The third has to be 0 and the fourth has to be 1. Then only you will produce a 1 in the fourth bit. So whether if the third is 1 or the fourth is 0, immediately you can conclude that the pattern has not occurred. So we can indeed use these concepts and reduce the number of states that you are looking for. Okay, that is, when both 0 0 or 1 1 has occurred in the first two bits, you can go to a single state, because once you know the pattern has not occurred, that state represents that pattern is not occurred. Then you have to simply wait for the two more bits and produce 0. If you do so, then the number of states will be reduced. But for that you should understand the problem well and be careful in doing so. So that may become a tedious under certain conditions. So what we do is, let us not try to do any such reduction at the beginning, because it may be error prone or it involves a lot of thinking about the problem. We will carry out a straightforward or mundane approach of constructing a state graph or a state table, where we don't apply any such tricks in reducing the states. Having got such a table which may have redundant states, we will relook at the state table and then see equivalent states can be discovered and whether they can be removed. Okay. So what we will do is, there are two ways. You can first draw a state graph and translate to a state table, or we can straight away get a state table and then go in for a state graph based representation. We have been doing state graph and then followed by a state table. Now we will do, for a change, we will have a state table. At the end, you can imagine what should be the state graph for this state table. So the machine resets after getting 4 bits, and let us look at a case where the machine is looking for the first bit of a group of 4 bits, and that is the initial state or a starting state. So we will call this as state A, which you can call it as the reset condition. We have just resetted, the machine is in the state A, where even the first bit has not come. Now in that state, the bit that could come, that is the x, can be 0 or 1. Okay. So what do? We have to look for this pattern, but let us not try to look at that one. We will just, if 0 comes, it has to, let us say, goes to a state. When 1 comes, it goes to another state. And we include 2 states, B and C, so that in the state A, with the first bit x is 0, you go to B, and the first bit is 1, you go to the state C. Well, as we saw, only in the 4th bit you produce a 1 if the pattern has occurred, whereas in the first 3 bits you always produce output as 0. So the output will be zeros only, okay, in the first, as long as you are in the first 3 clock periods. So you would see that you will keep outputting zeros only in the first, second and third clock period. Only in the 4th clock period you will output a 0 or 1 based on whether the pattern is occurred or not. So this is the first, what happens when the first bit comes. Well, here, to our understanding, we will also write down what is the bit pattern that has appeared or obtained until that point, so that we will know after getting the 4th bit whether the pattern has appeared or not. So here we will put only 1 bit has come. Here B corresponds to a state when the bit 0 has come. So that is the bit pattern that we have got. So we will put it as 0. So it is only the first bit is present in the pattern so far. So when 0 comes, you go to B. When a 1 comes, you go to C. So B and C are the next 2 states from A. So for that, we have to again look at what happens when the second bit comes. So the pattern until you go to state B is 0. Similarly, until you go to C is 1. Well, in B, if the input bit is 0, let us say you go to D, and if it is 1 you go to E. Note that we are not at this point very keen in looking at whether the first 2-bit input combination is 0 0 or 1 1 and so on. We just simply keep generating states as and when the requirement comes without bothering about reduction. So from B we go to D or E depending upon whether the second bit is 0 or 1. We of course have to produce only zeros in the second when the second bit comes. Similarly, when you are in C, let us say you go to generate, when x equal to 0 you go to F, when x equal to 1 you go to G by producing only 0 0. So now from B you have gone to D or E, from C you have gone to F or G. 2 bits have come. So now when you get the third bit, you can be in any one of these 4 states. So that you have to handle. So what does D indicate? D has indicated that the first 2 bits are 0 followed by 0. Because you come to D from B, you have come to B by getting the first bit as 0. And the second bit is 0. So a 0 0 denotes D, a 0 1 denotes E, a 1 0 indicates F, 1 1 indicates G. So that is what we have put here. What bit pattern has led to this state? D, E, F, G. Now the third bit can be either 0 or 1, and from these states we go to different states without looking at possibility of clubbing these states. So from D you go to H or I based on whether you get a 0 or 1 in X. From E you go to J or K. From F you go to L or M, and from G you go to N or P. So we have generated a large number of states. Well, this is still the third bit, so the output is always 0. And you can be in any one of these 8 states after receiving the third bit. Each one of these have to be handled when you get the fourth bit. So we will list out all these 8 states. This dash indicates how many bits have been processed. Here the first bit is over, second bit is over, only one row for the first bit, 2 rows for the handling the 2 states in the second, 4 for the third, and then 8 for the after receiving 3 bits. So you arrived at H after receiving the bit pattern 0 0 0, and I after receiving the bit pattern 0 0 1. Similarly, L means it is 1 0 0, P means 1 1 1. So that is what we have indicated here. Now from H or I, J, K, L, M, N and so on, when the fourth bit comes, what do you do? That is when you have to discover the bit pattern and conclude and give out your result. But to what state do you go? You always have to go back to the reset state, because when the fourth bit has come, the bit pattern, the group of 4 bits is over. You have to go to the reset state and wait for the next set of 4 bits. So that reset state is A. So from all these states, you have to only go back to the reset state, which is A. So this part is now much simpler. And what is the way in which you have to produce the output? That depends upon what input you are getting and whether the pattern, one of these 2 patterns has occurred. So this pattern means the pattern has to be, you should have from a state that corresponds to the 3 bits of 0 1 0. If a 1 occurs, then the pattern would have occurred. So for that, you look for the state where this 0 1 0 is there. This 0 1 0 corresponds to the state J. In state J, when the input is 1, then the pattern is complete. So that is this. In state J, when the input is 1, then you produce a 1 and go to the reset state. Coming to this pattern, it is 1 0 0 followed by a 1. So 1 0 0 is state L. So again in L, if the input is 1, you produce an output 1 and go back to state A. All others are zeros. So this is how the state table has been arrived at. Okay, where no effort is taken in reducing the states. Now it is easy for you to imagine the state graph. Okay, so here what happens here is that this would be, the state graph will look like a rooted binary tree. You start off with a node, a single node denoted as A. From there are two possible branches, child nodes, B or C. From B, D and E are two nodes, child nodes, and C, F or G. From D, H or I, and so on. So it will be like a rooted binary tree, and these would be the leaf nodes, and then you will go back to the root. And all these transitions can also be looked upon. So these transition will be 0 bar 0, because the input is 0, output is 0. And these transitions are 1 bar 0 in the Mealy state graph. Again, all these are 0 bar 0. Only these two will be 1 bar 1. Others would be, these are 1 bar 0. This is how the graph should look like. Now, how do we reduce this state table? For that, you look for equivalent states. First, we will apply the simple principle of two states are said to be equivalent, okay, when they produce the same output for a given input. For example, if you look at B and C, they produce the same output 0 for a given input 0. Similarly, they produce the same output zeros for a given input 1. From the perspective of the output being produced, they have the similar behavior. From the perspective of going to the next state, are they similar? That is what we have to look at. Look at B and C. B goes to D and C, E, whereas C goes to F and G. It looks like they go to different states. So it is not, we can make an initial guess. It looks like B and C are not equivalent because they go to different states. Well, similarly, if you look at D, E, F, G and so on, output wise they all produce the same output, but each one of them go to different states, and no two states appear to be equivalent because D goes to H and I, E goes to J and K. Okay, but what if H and J are equivalent and I and K are equivalent? In which case D and E are equivalent because they go to states which have different labels, but they are actually equivalent, which means that we could have used a single state for G and H, H and J, and another state for I and K. That is not clear now because they have different labels. So this is why we are telling that two states are equivalent if they produce the same output for a given input and go to states which are equivalent. If H and J are equivalent, then and I and K are equivalent, then D and E are equivalent. Now comes a question which is recursive in nature. To conclude whether D and E are equivalent, we have to now say whether H and J are equivalent, and so on. So now what we do is we look at these states. Here H, if you look at, they produce the same output for a given input. They also go to J, H and I go to the same next state for a given input. Indeed, they all go to A only. So this is very easy to conclude that H and I are equivalent because for a given input x equal to 0, both of them go to A. Similarly, for x equal to 1, both of them go to A. They produce identical output. So H and I are equivalent. Well, now, is there any other states which are equivalent to H? Well, all rows which have a similar label as that of H should be equivalent to H. For example, if you look at J is not equivalent because 0 and 1 they produce different output as compared to H. Whereas if you look at K, it produces a very similar input to that of H. So which means that H and I are equivalent, H and K are also equivalent, which means I and K are also equivalent. So equivalence is a transitive relationship. What other states are equivalent to H? M and P are all equivalent to H, I and K. Each in this group, they are all pairwise equivalent because all of them have got the same behavior. Then what do? If you have a group of states which are all equivalent, okay, just one state is enough. All others have the same behavior of that state. So we can just retain one state and remove all of them, all others. So what state to retain, what to remove, it is up to you. Okay, but let's follow a convention which is easier to follow. In this case, we have labeled the states using alphabets which is chronologically increasing, starting from A and so on. So when we have a group of states, we will always retain that stage which occurs earlier in a bibliographic manner, okay, and retain delete those which appear later in chronological manner. That is, among this H is retained and all other alphabets which are higher in chronological order than H are being removed and they are all replaced by H. What it means is mentally we will replace I by H. So this row also is HAA00. All these rows M, N, P are all H only. So then duplicate rows are not required. Just remove all of them and replace only this one. Okay. But you have to be little more careful. It is not only enough if you replace M, N, P and then I and K by H in this set, you should also do it here. Which means what we will do is we will strike off all these rows. What are them? I, K and then I, K, M, N, P are all struck off. We will retain only H, which means that wherever any of these labels come, I, K, M and P, we will replace it by H. So all these are just removed. You don't even need to replace it because after that you are going to remove the row itself. Whereas here you have to replace it. When I remove I, so here is I will strike off and put a H here. That is what we have done here. Similarly, when we remove K, what we do is this K is, instead of K we will put H as we have done. Similarly, M and P's are replaced by H. So this is M is replaced by H, N is replaced by H and then P is replaced by H. And all these are being struck off. Now coming to J, we can see that J and L are equivalent because same next state and also the same output 0 1 0 1. So again we can retain only one. So again retaining only the chronologically first appearing state, we will retain J and remove L. So we will struck off this whole line L, and here what we do is wherever L occurs we will instead put J. Okay. So now what we have done is we have reduced the states here. Now could easily see that previously when we are looking at D, E, F, G, it was not clear whether they are all equivalent, because that begs for a question whether there are equivalent states among here. But now that we have relabeled them, again we can iterate through this and check whether we discover more equivalent states. If you look at D, it goes to H in both the cases. See, here the outputs are the same, so you don't need to worry about the output condition. D goes to H and H. Similarly, G also goes to H and H after relabeling, which means D and G are equivalent. Therefore, again retaining the chronological first occurrence D, remove G, and then wherever G occurs, you replace D. So you remove this one, and where G has occurred here. You replace it by D. Similarly, if you look at E and F, they go to JH. Both of them go to JH. So you can remove F, and in place of F, you relabel it as E. So F is relabeled as E. Okay. So now here we have relabeled. Now again you go one step further and check whether B and C, can they be equivalent. But now we see that they are not equivalent. Okay. And again we have to iterate it once and then check whether any further reduction is possible, and stop only when in an iteration of the entire table no further reduction is possible. Having done this one, now we can come up with a table which is very compact, where all these removed rows are being not represented. Only those states which are surviving are retained. What are they? A, B, C, D, E, H and J. So we will come up with a compact or reduced state table where we have A, B, C, D, E, H and J, and with the corresponding labels. These labels now will only be among these valid reduced states and the corresponding output. Now you will see that J is the only state to which you will go after discovering that pattern has appeared, and therefore that is the only state which outputs 1. Okay. So this is the reduced state table obtained through row reduction method. Now you can come up with a corresponding state graph. Okay. The binary rooted tree now becomes a very simple state graph. A is the initial state to which you go to B or C, depending upon whether a 0 or 1 has occurred, always producing 0. 0 bar 0, 1 bar 0, you go to B and C. So in B, you go to D or E. D, when a 0 occurs, you go to D. 0 occurs, you go to D, producing a 0. When a 1 occurs, you go to E, producing a 0. 0 means 0, 1 means 0. Well, now in C you go to E or D for 0 or 1. In C you go to, for 0 you produce a 0, go to E. For a 1 you produce a 0 and go to D. In D you always go to H, producing zeros. So from D you always go to H, 0 bar 0, 1 bar 0, always giving an output of 0. And then E, for a 1 you go to, for a 1 you go to H, producing a 0. For a 0 you go to J, producing a 0. Having come to J, H, okay, H is there. You always go to A. So H itself is a state which means that pattern has not appeared. Okay, you always go to A, outputting a 0. Okay, so actually this is not 1, I think it has to be 0. Once we are in H, you always output a 0. This is wrong. 0 bar 0, 1 bar 0, like this. From J, what we do is, when a 0 means 0, 1 means 1, and you go to A. So only if this 1 appears, it is a pattern being there. Now we can go through this, traverse through this graph and also discover this. What is the pattern we are looking for? Sorry, here. 1 0 0 1 0 1 or 1 0 0 1. So 0 1 0 1. So 0 1 0 1. So 0 1 0 1 produces this, or 1 0 0 1 or 1 0 0 1. Okay, so you can see that for a 0 1 also you come here, 1 0 also come here. So this is a state which tells that okay, the first two patterns bits are okay. If the first two bits are 0 0 or a 1 1, you come to a D, there itself you conclude the fate that of this output, that this pattern is broken, it's not going to appear. And later on you don't even care what happens. That is what this transition indicates. You don't care what the input is. You just give a 0 and again you don't care. That is what these transitions indicate. So D and F itself tells that it's a no case, that is, pattern is not appearing. And E, what happens from E if a 0 has occurred, okay, and then you are very strict about it. With 0, the last bit, third bit has to be 0 and the fourth bit has to be 1 for a pattern to appear. So all these are now evident. If you have used all these idea in the very beginning, you could have arrived at this graph, okay, but that needs a lot of thinking, whereas this method you arrive at it eventually, but after doing this row reduction. Well, row reduction technique reduces the state, but still there is some problem. There is no guarantee that row states can be reduced. So we reduced certain states which allowed us to reduce further more states, and we did it iteratively. It is possible that you can have states, okay, which have circular dependency. For example, you may tell that A and B are equivalent when C and D are equivalent, and C and D are equivalent when E and F are equivalent, and in turn E and F may require AB to be equivalent. So what happens, there may be a circular dependence. Okay, A is equivalent to B, B is equivalent to C, and then C is equivalent to A. In this manner, there can be some circular equivalent condition, or there can be more also. At least 3 would be easier to find out. If they are a circular condition with more states, it will be difficult to find out. So that is the disadvantage of the row reduction technique. We will in the next lecture, we will look at the implication table method, where this reduction we will overcome this limitation. Thank you.